The Midlands is home to some iconic football teams. Not as good as the teams from Lancashire, of course, but they're iconic nevertheless. There's 6 teams in and around the Birmingham area, and I'm going to show you every single one. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Ultimate Bucket List, and this is the Midlands football road trip. Now let's have a look at a map of the Midlands and you can see where these 6 teams are. And the starting point is the northernmost club on the list. Molyneux Stadium, the home of Wolverhampton Wanderers. One of the original 12 members of the Football League, they're currently flying high in the Premier League. They've been here at Molineux Stadium since 1899 and it currently holds a capacity crowd of 32,050.
Right, morning guys, it's about 6:45 or thereabouts. Just got out of the car and I'm still very sleepy, but other than that, welcome to Molineux Stadium. They're currently only one of 2 teams playing in the Premier League right now, so they're flying pretty high.
So the free car park is located on the north side of the stadium. This is known as the Stan Cullis stand, named after their former greatest manager, Stan Cullis. It's here that you'll find the Wolves Museum and the Wolves Club Shop, Wolfie's Den, which is some kind of kids play area, and on the corner here you'll also find the tickets office. So if you want tickets to a game, this is where you come. The west side of the stadium is known as the Billy Wright stand. Named after Billy Wright, one of their greatest players, it's also home to the reception, and this is where you'll need to check in for any stadium tours. But one thing I love about Wolverhampton Wanderers Stadium is the amount of branding that's going on. They've even branded the public subway with their colours and logos, and you can learn a little bit of history about the football club here. The south side of the stadium is known as the Sir Jack Haywood stand. Named after former owner Sir Jack Haywood, from the outside there's really not much to shout home about. That's also true of the east side of the stadium, the Steve Bull stand, which kinda looks like a bit of a council building.
I'm not going to talk too much about the details of this stadium, mainly because I'll be doing a separate tour video right here. Right, that's 1 out of 6 complete. Tick. Let's go see number 2.
So it's time to jump back in this other car to cross the M6 motorway to our second destination. Bescott Stadium, the home of Walsall Football Club. Currently languishing in the lower leagues, they're easily forgotten about, but they've been around since 1888. And their stadium, right on the side of the M6 motorway, is the smaller stadium that we're going to visit today, and holds a capacity crowd of just 11,300.
Now, Walsall Football Club is a team that you never really hear about, which is strange given that these guys have been around since the 1800s. They've currently spent the last few years languishing in the lower leagues, but maybe one day we might see them in the Championship or Premier League.
So this is the main stand. It's home to the reception, the ticket office and the club shop. You can check out the 2 end stands, but you can't actually access the community stand, which is the one that's furthest away from the main stand. One thing that is cool is that their training ground, I think it's their training ground, is located just off one of these stands. Something that's not so cool is the Saddlers Club. It kinda looks like a disused pub and it looks like it's definitely seen better days. Oh, and if you're wondering what this thing is, this is the LED sign that you can see from miles away on the motorway.
If you are driving past Walsall and you want to have a look at the stadium, admittedly, there's not that much to it. I mean, look around, this is pretty much all there is. But if you're not horribly stuck in traffic and you're driving past here, it's definitely worth a look. But admittedly, out of the 6 teams that we're visiting today, it is the smallest. Right, I think we've seen enough here. Time to move on to the next team.
So let's drive closer to the city of Birmingham where we'll come across our next stadium. The Hawthorns, the home of West Bromwich Albion. Commonly known as the Baggies or the Throssels, they're another team that was part of the original 12 teams that formed the Football League. And West Bromwich Albion are always one of those teams that's too good for the Championship, but not good enough for the Premier League. So they tend to bounce between the two. They've called the Hawthorns home since 1900, and it currently holds a capacity crowd of 26,850.
So even though technically I've never been here before in my life, for some reason it feels very familiar. Now, I don't know if it's the fact that it looks like a very modern detail, but for some reason I feel very much at home here.
So if you come off the main road and walk through the gates, you'll come towards the bigger stand known as the East Stand, and it's home to the reception, the stadium megastore, the ticket office, and the statue of the great Tony Bomber Brown. One of the cool things that you can do is go and have a look at the West Bromwich Albion Memorial Garden. This is to commemorate fans of the club who have died, and I wish more clubs would actually do this. Unfortunately, you can't access the away stand, aka the Smethwick end, but it's not very interesting anyway. The stand that's closest to the road is unsurprisingly known as the Birmingham Road end, and that's where you'll find a mini club shop and a burger bar. That's currently shut. The quieter side seems to be the West Stand, which is on Halfords Lane. Given that two sides of the stadium is right next to a main road, I can imagine that this place is painful on a match day.
Apparently, the game day atmosphere comes highly recommended, so if you do manage to get tickets, it's a good shindig. And apparently, they do stadium tours, but for some reason, every time I try and book one, it leads to a page where I can book a Christmas party. And whilst booking a Christmas party here would probably be quite nice, unfortunately, that's kind of not what I'm after.
So it's time to jump back into the car and drive north of Birmingham City Centre to our next destination. Aston Villa Football Club. The Villains, the Lions, the Claret and Blue. They're one of the most iconic teams in English football, and, unsurprisingly, one of the original 12 founding members of the Football League. They're a team that have had historic success, and they're one of the few teams that have won a European Championship. And their stadium, Villa Park, has been their home since 1897, and currently holds a capacity crowd of 42,785, making this the largest stadium we're visiting today.
So out of all the teams that we're visiting today, Aston Villa is probably the most famous. It's easy to forget that these guys are one of the few English clubs that have actually won a European trophy. It's also easy to forget that they were one of the founding members of the Football League, so this place is definitely steeped in lore and history.
So the stand that's along the main road is known as the Doug Ellis stand. It's not particularly very exciting outside. The more interesting side is the Holt End, where all the bloodthirsty Aston Villa fans sit. And it's very uniquely decorated. They've put on display all this Victorian brickwork. When you walk around the stadium, you'll learn a lot about the history of Aston Villa Football Club. And if you swing around to the other side, the Trinity Road stand, you can learn a lot about the history there. The side that you park in, if you're a visitor, is the North Stand, and that over there, the North Stand reception, is where you'll go to check in for any stadium tours. And across the road, they've also got the ticket office and the Villa shop if you want to buy some merch. I'm not going to talk too much about this stadium, mainly because I'll be doing a comparison video with Birmingham City right here, so check that out, it's a future video.
Allegedly, this is our future King's favourite football team, and I've been here before, and to be honest, since the last time I came here, it's not really changed all that much. It's probably modernised quite a lot inside, and the signage is obviously fairly new, but overall, Villa Park is incredibly historic, and it's definitely worth a trip if you are here in Birmingham.
Right then, it's time to drive 3.5 miles down the road to visit their arch rivals. Birmingham City Football Club, commonly known as just the Blues, they've been around since 1875. And unfortunately, they're nowhere near as successful as their arch rivals Aston Villa. Their home in the east side of Birmingham City Centre has been around since 1906 and currently holds a capacity crowd of 29,409.
Birmingham City is one of the more historic clubs in the Football League. It's a little bit of a shame that they're in the Championship as opposed to the Premier League duking it out with Aston Villa, but maybe, hopefully next season, we'll get to see that happen.
So when you get here, park at the main car park at the Cop reception. This is the main stand at St Andrews, and it's home to the ticket office, the reception, and right outside in a separate building is the club shop, so you can buy Birmingham City merch if you want to. A cool thing to check out is this Birmingham City mural that's directly behind the club shop. What a work of art that is. But for some reason, the rest of the stadium is locked up, so you can't actually access the railway end, the Tilton Road stand, or the main stand behind. If you do want to access these things, you actually have to pay for a stadium tour. Don't worry guys, I'm doing just that. I'll be editing a video about that shortly.
It's one of the classic stadiums here in England, and it's definitely worth a look at if you are a fan of the Blues. It's relatively easy to find, it's on the east side of the city centre, and there's plenty of free parking, so that's good.
So it's getting late in the afternoon, and it's time to drive towards the last stadium that's on our list. Coventry Building Society Arena, the home of Coventry City Football Club. Known as the Sky Blues, they were once a Premier League team, but their history has been a very unlucky one, which has seen them being homeless more than a couple of times. They seem relatively stable these days, and they shared this stadium with rugby union side Wasps. Their home, here at Coventry Building Society Arena, currently holds 32,753. It's a relatively modern place, built in 2005. It's possibly the most modern stadium on our list today.
Okay guys, it's the end of the day. I finally reached stadium number 6, the Coventry Building Society Arena, which is a very strange name for it given that it's a stadium, not an arena. But out of all the stadiums that we've visited today, this is definitely the most modern, and it has the most land space around it. I also particularly like the fact that there's a giant retail park right next to it also.
So when you walk around the stadium, well, admittedly, even though this is a nice stadium, there's not all that much to see. You'll probably come across the bar called The Anecdote, I'm not entirely certain why, but right outside is a statue of the greatest ever manager, Jimmy Hill. And you've probably noticed from these shots that there's a lot of scaffolding and a lot of construction going on. They've recently just finished hosting events for the Commonwealth Games, and they're currently packing down, so everything is a little bit of a mess right now. And believe it or not, this is what's actually inside the arena of Coventry Building Society Arena. Literally nothing. I mean, it's eerie, the fact that it's a big giant empty space with no seats or anything like that. Pretty weird. Walking around the stadium is virtually like walking in a big giant circle. If you keep going, you'll eventually get to the Sky Blues shop, which is the club shop for Coventry City, didn't bother going in that, and the entrance to the train station. So it's cool that they have their own train station. On the east side of the stadium, you'll notice the Coventry City Wall of Fame, memorialising some of their greatest ever players and manager like Jimmy Hill. Boy, I remember Steve Ogrizovic, he was cool. Like West Bromwich Albion, they also have their own memorial garden, so that's pretty nice. Other than that though, I'd be lying if I said that this was the most characterful stadium I've ever visited. It's pretty much a soulless corporate thing. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Admittedly, there's really not that much to it. So if you are in Coventry and you do want to see the stadium, it's worth parking up and walking around, but don't be surprised if you're done within about 20 minutes. If you want tickets to a Coventry City game, check them out on the website. I'm not aware that they do stadium tours. I'm pretty sure that they don't. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it would be nice to come back here and actually see the inside of the place. So that was it guys, all 6 historic teams in and around the Birmingham area in one day. Okay Ninh, I'm sold. What do I need to do? Well, you'll need to come to each one of these 6 stadiums. The way I've done it is the shortest way from north to south. Obviously, if you're coming in from the south, you do it the complete opposite way as shown in the video. If memory serves me correctly, at least 4 of the 6 clubs do stadium tours, and you can book them on their official websites. For match tickets, obviously go on each team's official website, they shouldn't be particularly hard to get. The cost, well, as you can imagine, match prices vary depending on the club, depending on where you're sitting. And the stadium tours, they were actually reasonably priced. I don't think I paid any more than £20 for any single one, and it's certainly value for money. Is there anything else I need to know? Yes. Unfortunately, as mentioned many times in this video, Birmingham traffic is incredibly terrible. So set off nice and early, give yourself plenty of time, especially if you're driving in a car or if you're on public transport, allow yourself plenty of time to get to these places. So overall guys, if you are a fan of football and you live in and around the Midlands, or if you're a fan of one of the Midlands teams, a road trip like this comes highly recommended. If you have enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. Comment on that comment section below, and if you've got any other bucket list ideas, you know what to do. If I get enough suggestions, I'll probably make a video about it. But from me, from here at Coventry Building Society Arena, we'll see you in the next episode. So parking isn't Is Cat Deely here? Can I see Cat Deely now? Is she here? Really? No? They're currently one of only 2 teams playing in the Premier League right now. They're currently only... Why did I look at the camera funny then? Is Cat Deely here? I kind of want to see Cat Deely now. Anybody?